My name is Samantha Farmer. I am a 30-year-old mom of a 2.5-year-old son with special needs. I am a medical doctor working at Delft Community Health Centre. There's so much that I can say what I've learned about being a special needs mom. I think the biggest thing for me is not to compare my son. I think that was the biggest challenge in the beginning, especially when we didn't really know anything. We didn't have a diagnosis, we still don't yet. But we didn't know just how extensive all the challenges were that Noah has medically and developmentally. And I only learned that once we then realized, well, he's not sitting yet at the age of 6 months, and hasn't started babbling yet at the age of 6 months, and that was challenging for me, I think, to look around and see so-called normal kids developing in very normal ways. I think that was the hardest thing for me, not to look around and be like, well, why is my child not developing that way, and why is my child not learned to sit yet? So I think that was the hardest part that I had to learn to accept, is that Noah is different, but that doesn't mean that he's lesser or that I am lesser as a mom. And I think special needs moms go through a lot of feelings of hurt and rejection, because we have to face so many challenges, but we're not given the reasons why. And I think that I had to find the light and the joy in the midst feeling all of those feelings. And initially I went through a very dark stage, and I went through a very lonely place, because I felt isolated and I didn't want to share my story with anyone, because I felt that people wouldn't understand and they wouldn't accept me, and they wouldn't accept my son. And looking back on how I've journeyed and where I've come, I think that I have grown a lot in terms of advocating for special needs. And I think that's a big part of being a special needs mom, is first learning to accept what you've been given, and in its entirety what you've been given, and then to pick yourself up and to start advocating for what you do have. And I had to find the joy in realizing, yes, there's so many things that Noah cannot do, but there are so many things that he can do, and that he's now starting to learn how to do. And initially I felt hopeless, and now I feel hopeful, because I am able to look around at kids who are normal, and I laugh and I appreciate and I enjoy seeing kids running around and playing, even though Noah can't do the same. I love the fact that I can share my story without feeling shameful or ashamed of what I've been through. When we were planning to have a child, I expected everything to go as smoothly as, the past 28 years of my life went, because I felt like I hadn't really lived much life. Sort of, if I had to speak to someone, I hadn't really lived through something that was a bad experience, or I hadn't faced anything that was really challenging for me. And here I was presented with this baby boy who had a multitude of issues and problems from the get-go. And then I had to learn to accept that, number one, and then I had to learn what my role in that looks like. And I was thinking, yes, I was going to breastfeed, and I was going to breastfeed until he's 2 years old, and I was going to get skinny because I was breastfeeding, and I was going to get to, see him walk and have all of that joy. And like in the first 2 months, I couldn't breastfeed because he wasn't picking up weight on my breast milk, and he had to go on formula, and then it was one disappointment. And then he wasn't able to control his neck at 3 to 6 months, and then he wasn't sitting at 6 months, and so it felt like disappointment after disappointment after disappointment, after I just sort of more or less got myself to the point where I was like, I accept this, I know that he's different, he's not the same. It just felt like there was constantly something that was going wrong, and in and amongst that I had to learn who I was, number one, and learn then what I had to do in order to be what Noah needed me to be. And that changes from time to time. It's dynamic and it's not always the same. And one moment they might need you to be a certain way and strong and just be available. Like there were times when I sat at Noah's hospital bed in tears because I didn't know what I had to do just for this child to be better. When all he needed for me was just to sit and be present at his hospital bed. My mom and my mom-in-law are two women who really inspire me. There were times when I was really struggling and I wanted to give up. There was a time where I wanted to call it quits and then like, I'm done being a mom. I don't want this. I don't accept this. And I think my mom and my mom-in-law, they stood by me. They stood in the gap. And then to top all of that off, I think my husband has been an inspiration in my life in terms of that. There's not been a single time that Blaine has ever wanted to quit on Noah. He's just, whether it's hospital visits or doctor's follow-ups or another disappointment in terms of the challenges that he's facing, he has never once said that he wanted Noah to be different or that he wished that Noah wasn't here, even though those are emotions that I experienced and that I felt and that I was ashamed to even say. Not once has he ever said that or verbalized that or felt that, and that's inspired me a lot. That's been like, you are his mom. He was given to you for a reason. God has placed you in this position for a reason. Take up your cross and use it. And that's what I've done. So I think those three people are, I know that Blaine's not a woman, obviously, but my mom and my mom-in-law. But I really think that it's a male-dominated world, and this is about women. But I think that when women have good support systems, whether male or female, when women are encouraged and uplifted, whether by a male or female, I think that that's what makes the difference. I think that we really do neglect our special needs area, especially here in South Africa, whether it be with regards to funding or the availability of services. I think that's what I would love to see change, specifically in the realm of special needs. I often find that people don't know where to go when they need information. There isn't a central place that you could go to like look at which schools offer special needs services, where there are physiotherapy or occupational therapy services that are not too expensive but that are available, that come out to your area. Those types of things I would really love to see change within the special needs community. And as a doctor, I think even branching out into managing kids with special needs, I think that often we go to lots of different specialists, whether it's pediatricians or neurologists. I know that Noah has a multitude of different specialists that he's seeing at the moment, but also to look at that, and especially in the poorer communities, I think that's where we're really falling short, because often those parents can't afford those specialized services, and yes, they do get it from time to time at the government hospitals, but often those services are neglected. So I would love to see a bigger community grow within the availability of medical services, of allied health services such as occupational and physiotherapy, even audiology with regards to hearing aid, speech therapy, to see that grow, and predominantly I would say in the communities who are poorer, and then to get a centralized place where people can come to for information. And with regards to that, we've started a page called Noah the Brave, and our vision and our mission is actually to do that, is to get the special needs community, together, and give them a place where they can go to, where they get all the information that they need, or at least be able to source that information. So if we don't have the direct contact, the direct line for the type of service that they need, to be able to find out where we can, or even start something new, if it is a service that we feel is required in that area. there's not a single one that I think that I focus on every day, but I have been telling myself this, especially when it was hard in the beginning, when Noah would be admitted to hospital with pneumonia like every 2 to 3 months. I would tell myself one day at a time, because I felt like thinking ahead overwhelmed me completely, and I was so anxious and so fearful of the future, because I kept thinking, oh well, we still have to do that, and he has to get that done, and now the new thing is that he's possibly going for spinal surgery next year or the year after. And I was thinking about that. I was like, now it's another hospital stay, and recovery time is about a month or so, and I feel like he's going to have setbacks again. And then I just have to bring myself back to it's one day at a time. We can do what we can do today, and we should really do the best that we can do in the day, and go to bed, rest, and then wake up in the morning and do it all again. And so I really feel like one day at a time, one step at a time has really become something I've had to live by, because I felt that I was paralyzed by fearfulness and anxiety of what could happen and what the future could hold, because I kept living in the future and not being present in the day, taking things one step at a time. There was one time that I told myself, like, just get through the next hour, and then you just get through the next hour, and then the day is done, and just get through the next day, because there's a lot of things that can overwhelm me when you think about tomorrow, especially when he had his cardiac surgery. I was like, when will he be off the ventilator, God? And when are things going to change or like turn around for us, God? And I sat there and I was like, I'm just going to rest in today, God. And I will take things one step at a time and one day at a time, because that's all that I could do. And so that's probably the biggest motto and the biggest motivator that I've had to tell myself to be able to get through all of the challenge that we've overcome thus far.